it on our end.
That's really funny.
Well, I know how to do tweet. I don't know how to do Instagram. Everybody's on Instagram.
I don't know how to do it.
I should do your Instagram. I'll take care of it.
Take a lot of. Would you do it?
Me or Sydney to do it? We'll take care of it.
Maybe Holly will do it.
Oh, Sydney's still in her teenage years. She won't do it for me.
But Holiday will.
It's like, Mom.
I'll totally do it.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Holiday.
babe.
That's very sweet of you.
I'm actually going to see Sydney in like a week.
Really?
Yeah, I think she's coming out to see John, and so she's trying to fly out and see me, and then she's going to go spend the weekend with him. But I get to see her for a day.
She's obsessed with August.
With August.
I sent her the video, which is the greatest video. You have to put it up on Ellen, of him laughing at that little thing that I thought was going to be the most annoying toy ever.
So cute.
She goes, "Is that August? He is so cute. Isn't he adorable?"
He is so
She
cute.
loves him. Oh, they have a love affair.
Hi. They were like, "Hi, ladies."
Hello.
Okay, so we are on a little bit of a tighter time frame, so because Shirley has to go in about 45 minutes, so we're gonna get this thing rolling. And
Alrighty. You guys can
I
stay
am
on.
gonna count this down, and we are gonna start the show. And it begins in 3, 2, 1.
Oh, hopefully we can see.
You're listening to Tauren Think Tank, the podcast about the Blizzard gamer behind the keyboard.
It's episode 245 of Tauren Think Tank. Today is Thursday, September 21st of 2017. My name is Jules, and we have a full house tonight. First, as always, we have my lovely, illustrious co-host, Marconin. Hi, Marconin.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm so excited for this show. It's so good to be back. Hope you're having a great day, Jules. And hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
And you hear other voices on the show because we have 3 other people on the show this week, and let's get them introduced right away. First, I'd like to welcome back Dr. Holiday Bean to the show.
Hello.
Hi! Dr. Bean is a licensed clinical psychologist specializing in trauma, children, and family counseling, parent coaching with expertise in ADHD, depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, and postpartum difficulties. She is also the owner and working for her own nonprofit business, the Telos Project. And that she does with her husband, Dr. Anthony Bean. We're so happy to have you back, Holiday.
Yay! I'm happy to be back. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh. And we also have with us the unconventional duo from Both Sides Now podcast. We have Dr. Shirley and Kellee White. Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Let me tell you about these wonderful women. Dr. Shirley is arguably the highest profile Latina psychologist in America. She is frequently a guest expert on TV, doctors, Dr. Drew on Call, just to name a few. Let's see, VH1's Holiday, Execs, Bravo's Workout. She's done it all, guys. And she's also the author of the bestselling Why Can't I Change? How to Conquer Your Self-Destructive Patterns. And the co-author of Scared Speechless, 9 Ways to Overcome Your Fears and Captivate Your Audience. That's Dr. Shirley.
Yay!
And we also have with us Kellee White. And Kellee is a licensed psychotherapist and clairvoyant medium. She practices with celebrities, corporate executives, entrepreneurs, politicians, as well as individuals, couples, and families in her Beverly Hills, California office. She's also the mother of Dr. Holiday Bean.
Hello!
And the grandmother of August Bean. Yay!
And I have to say, I think that has been like the happiest thing that has happened in 2016 was that Kellee became a grandma.
Definitely.
Yes. Yeah. And I was so amazed, Jules, that the baby, because we choose before we come in what our time period is going to be, when we're going to incarnate. And I was really amazed that my grandson would want to come in, during that extremely difficult time period in December, and he was born at the end of December. I thought, wow, I'm amazed by the light that these new beings carry, because we need that right now.
He's a little Buddha.
He's a Buddha.
He's going to bring peace to the world.
Yep. Not to put too much pressure on him, honey, but
I mean, right now he's just trying to walk, so cool.
Small moves.
Way in the future.
So we have 2 psychologists, 1 mother-daughter duo, 2 best friends, and a spiritual medium on this show tonight. What an amazing, what a great group of women we have, and gentlemen. You feel a little outnumbered, nerd?
Just a little bit, but hey.
It's a lot of powerful women on here.
Absolutely.
I know, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's right. You come in, your birth placement is about being around powerful people and education and learning and all kinds of things. So powerful woman, you actually gravitate to. You're not only are you unafraid, it's a thing with you.
Well, thank you.
That's amazing. That's probably going to happen throughout the entire show, and we want that to happen because
it's a fun party trick.
I love it. Well, we asked Kelly prior to the show, if she would give Marconin a reading during the episode, and so I was like, go for it, like you just do it. So let's just start with our show topic, which is called Changing with Age. We actually do span a number of different age ranges, generations within this panel. We have the 30s, and that's Holiday and Marconin. We have the 40s, which is me. We have the 50s, which is Shirley. And we have the 60s, which is Kelly.
Wait, let me just clarify. It's 60 in one day.
Yes!
Yesterday.
It was yesterday.
60
Happy birthday! I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah.
That's incredible. So now we can actually say we are spanning the 4 decades.
Yeah.
So let's just fire it up from a spiritual and a psychological perspective. When people say to other people, especially people who are maybe of the 40s, 50s, 60s, say, I can't change. I've just been like this my entire life and I'm not going to be able to change myself. Do you say BS or do you not say BS?
Well, I kind of wrote the book on that.
Yes, she did. She did write the book, Why Can't I Change? I mean, this is a great topic because it covers certainly the psychological and then really gets into the spiritual.
Absolutely. I mean, first off, this whole idea of you can't teach an old dog new tricks is a lie. In the last 20 years of brain science, they see that we can actually rewire our brain. So we can change. It doesn't matter how old we are. We can definitely change. It takes a while and it takes consistency. And
you have to want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, can I jump in?
Absolutely.
Right. So,
absolutely.
Yes, I mean, psychologically, there's a quote, and I forget the guy's name, but it talks about therapy. The sadness almost of therapy is that it doesn't necessarily, just because you have you have a intuition into what's going on, or you might have an idea, it doesn't necessarily lead to change. Change leads to change. So you actually have to put energy behind the thought. Just because you have this is why I'm doing that. Oh, it doesn't necessarily mean it leads to change. Right. You actually have to, literally put the it.
Can I say, so my grandmother, my mother's mother, who's also one of the most renowned psychologists that ever lived and is still living.
Be in the 80 column.
Yeah, she was.
We only have 1 decade missing.
You're right. We would.
So, anyway, so the way she explained it to me when I wanted to become a psychologist was insight leads to awareness. Awareness leads to choices, and those choices, whether good or bad, lead to change.
Absolutely.
So why do you ladies think that there are so many people out there that just believe truly in their soul that they are the way that they are and they cannot change?
So, as a spiritualist, we all come here to grow. So I would actually be looking at this soul going, really? Come on. Now, what are you afraid of? There are 2 emotions that people have that come to this dimension. It's fear and love. So what are they afraid of? That's what I would look at. That's what I would question. What are you afraid of? Because we come here to grow. That is really the reason we come here. And all the experiences that we're going to have, there'll be some amazing experiences. There'll be some challenges. We come here to challenge ourselves. So all of that is about the growth of our soul. It's not necessarily did I become a doctor, or did I become a this, or did I become a that. It's really what did the soul learn? Did the soul learn empathy? Did the soul learn compassion? So somebody that is stuck, I would start them, immediately with yoga, getting in touch with their body, getting in touch with their soul, in meditation. I'd get them in touch with things so they could actually start to make some progress.
And I think an interesting point to bring up is that if you're coming into therapy, if you're meeting with one of the three of us, you want this. You don't like what's happening, and you're acknowledging that, because the first step is admitting the problem.
Right.
And then you're coming to us. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of bravery to admit that you don't like how things are. Now, I can absolutely tell you, we get a lot of people that come into our offices and say, I'm unhappy, but I don't really want to change, or I tried this, I don't want to do that. And then we really have to have a come to Jesus meeting about, do you want to waste your time? Because, I don't really need to be paid by you if you are not willing to do the work.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and thinking about it from a perspective of someone everybody around them thinks they got to change. Like, something's got to give. Something's really wrong. And how does that, like, we think about this especially from a perspective of people who maybe aren't as like, from our audience perspective, a lot of us are just very much social introverts. We spend a lot of time with other people online versus in person, and can lose perspective on like the things that you're doing every day. So as professionals, as people who come to this and see this all the time, those who surround that person have to do something. What can they do to help?
Around the person that they see needs a change, but the person doesn't see it? Or
yeah, because how many of us have sat there and be like, I don't need to change, I'm fine.
Well, I mean, part of it is respecting where they're at in their journey, and if they don't, if they're not ready, they're not ready. And so it could be Freud talking to them, and, it's not going to move forward. Part of it also is this whole idea that we were kind of born into, that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And just now we're beginning to shift that paradigm. But people thought, once they're an adult, this is how I am and I can't change. So, but as far as, your question of other people, if I see that someone needs a change, I might suggest it, and I might be curious, ask them with curiosity, but I need to respect where they're at.
Or you'll send them to me.
Send them to her.
Shifts it. And I'll go, wait a minute. And sometimes they just need some spiritual something. It just opens them up, or wakes them up, or shakes them up, or something.
Well, and there might be something underlying it. The best thing is to approach it with curiosity. And so that takes away any kind of accusation or any kind of shaming. Approach it with curiosity, and maybe there's fear there that they didn't even know existed.
Yeah, because I know with a lot of times when people say they do want to change something, with their life, it's like, I can't do it. It's a lot of times because they're self-defeating. They don't think they can, so they don't bother trying, or they just don't. I think sometimes it might even be laziness a little bit, and the fact that I'm comfortable where I'm at, even though I really do want to do this thing differently, I just don't have the drive to do so. I don't have the drive enough to start that change. Like you said, Holiday, to come to you and start wanting that change.
Well, particularly speaking to some typical people who may be in your audience, there's this great cartoon that I tend to show a lot of my patients, and I'm going to try and show you. Can you see this? No?
It's focusing a little.
Okay. No. Anyway, well, it's called, it says two people, and one is called comfort and one is called growth. And growth looks at comfort and says, this isn't working out. It's my favorite cartoon. And growth is uncomfortable. And you have to be able to kind of to piggyback off of what Shirley said, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable from a very curious perspective, and from a place of not being shame, but being willing to sit and tolerate these very uncomfortable feelings
Oh, yeah. I mean, I always say therapy's not for sissies. You know, you have
No.
Mm-hmm.
to explore that stuff. And there's so many still, you know, the stigma is, oh, I can do it myself. There's something wrong with me, or I must be weak if I have to go and see a therapist. And, you know, it takes a lot of courage to come and see a therapist. And I want to just say something quickly about the term laziness. To me, that I don't like that because it feels like a judgment. It feels like, you know, like the person will feel like there's something wrong with them because they can't do it, even if they want to. And again, exploring it can help. Sometimes people are in freeze. You know, they've had a chaotic childhood and they're stuck in freeze mode, you know, fight, flight, and freeze. And they don't even know that they're there. And so they can't motivate enough to do anything. And so then we can label them lazy, but we don't know that it's their nervous system that's stuck in this frozen place, and they really can't until you start to make that, you know.
Right.
So I just wanted to say a little bit about that term. You know, lazy, I've always had an issue with that word because it makes the person feel really bad, you know, and can shame a person, and we don't know what's really going on.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
And my take on this is, if I could just throw this in, if you don't mind, is that the universe is going to throw out all kinds of things to everybody. Before we incarnate, we put in place all these things we want to do. So there will be, everybody will have their challenges. I want to go back to that because some of these challenges are going to make people ask for help. They're going to make people change. They're going to make people grow and shift. There'll be challenges along the way. The universe just has a way of doing that.
Yeah.
And even more so beyond that too, we tend to be very circular in our experiences. And sometimes there's this feeling of, oh my God, am I making the same, you know, bad choice again and again and again and again? But as we grow, we are given opportunities from the universe. I like to call them AFOGs, another opportunity for growth.
I love that. I'm gonna borrow that.
My shrink taught me that one. I love that one.
So
but it's great. And so there's this sense of, as we continue to grow, so, you know, maybe you date this like not so kind person and you have a really terrible experience and you break up, but you really grow from it and you move on from it. And a couple years later, you inadvertently find yourself in a similar position. Well, okay, yes, you could look at it from a very negative perspective of, oh my God, I did it again. Or it's, wow, I noticed that I'm making similar choices. What am I going to do differently now?
Right.
And how do I shift from that? And what did I take away from that experience? And looking at it, Shakespeare has this great quote, it's neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so. So looking at it from this place of, okay, well, what am I taking away from this? Because the situation is what it is. And how do we just move forward? And, you know, kind of going off of my mom, it's like, what are we here for? What are we taking away? What is the consistent lesson that we have to go back and learn from many different perspectives?
Let me jump on that one for just a second, Kellee, and ask you, what is it that we're here for?
We come here to learn. We come here for our soul to grow. This dimension is all about growth. And it's the hardest lesson to learn on this dimension. And that's why we come here. You think, why the hell would I pick that? Why would I pick these certain experiences? We come in soul family groups. So many of us have been together many, many times before. We come in to learn. We come in for the growth of our soul, and that is it. We come to experience joy. We come to experience compassion for ourselves, compassion for others. That's why you can take personality disorders and think, oh my God, these people are never going to get it. And then I think, did they come in with that idea that I'm going to be the one that has no empathy so other people can learn? Think about that.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
That's the only thing I can figure.
So basically, we come for AFOGs.
Yes. Yes.
I think we have our show title already.
Yeah.
Yes.
I wanted to ask our panel if you all would be willing to be asked what your experience with changing as you age has been like. Starting with Holiday. You're in the middle of a huge change.
Yeah, just had a baby 9 months ago tomorrow.
Oh my God.
Which is
Wow.
yeah, 9 months, which is as long as it took to make him. 9 months in a week.
Incubator.
Yeah. So it's, I've been very reflective recently because just having a baby makes you become very reflective. At least it did for me, and the changes in the way you look at the world. And my theme, I think, as of right now, is the sense of it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. There are some days that are so fabulous and so wonderful. And the other day, my son took his first steps, and it was just me and my husband and my child, and it was our tight family unit, and it was so beautiful to watch. And I'm just like crying, his tears are just running down my face. And then 10 minutes later, he has like this massive blowout, and there's poop everywhere. And because that's life. I mean, real true story. So Jules and Marconin came to my home in January, and Jules, not a baby person, totally fine. She's a cat lady, not a baby person. And she's like 10 feet away from the baby. And I'm like, oh, you want to hold the baby? And you're like, it's cool. And August had a poop. And she's like, let me know if you need me. That's like a joke. Turned out totally needed her. It was everywhere. Yes. I mean, I needed so much help. It was unbelievable. So, but that's where I'm at right now. I think is this really beautiful place of recognizing that there's highs and there's lows, and just because you have one low doesn't mean the day is thrown, and doesn't mean your week or your year or things suck. And being really able to provide perspective, I think, is what I'm really, in my 30s, I'm really developing perspective and learning that things change and grow. And I see like the emotional maturity and the growth that I've seen in myself, particularly over these last couple of years, has been pretty mind-blowing.
Marconin, do you share some of those same views in your 30s?
At first I had no idea what I would say, but Holiday was good at giving me a little something to springboard off of, and that's changing the perspectives. Because when I was growing up, I had these ideas of who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. I had this idolized version of my future. In college, in our fraternity, one of the things we'd always ask our new initiates is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? And I would have like a slightly different answer, but they were all kind of in the same idea. And especially over the last year or so, I've just been really thinking about how my life is not how I wanted it to be. But I'm slowly being okay with that because of the good that I have in my life. If it had gone the way that I'd wanted it to when I was 21 or 25, I would not be here. I would be doing something else. I'd have a different family structure. Things would be different. Would it be better? Who's to say? But I am happy with what I'm doing for a living, with what I get to do with Jules every week, and talk to all you guys out there. It's amazing, and I love it. And I wouldn't really trade it for anything. And that's really kind of showing me how, it's not the best. It's not my idealized life, but people rarely ever get that. So I'm, just like everybody else, and just to really learn to celebrate the good and roll with the bad, and just keep on going, because, at least I'm enjoying life.
Yes. Shirley, how has age changed your perspective on life?
Are we going to skip over the 40s?
Yeah. I mean, I think we need to go to you, Jules, first.
Well, I would go last. Like, I'm the host, so I go last unless you want me to go with the 40s. I'm happy to.
Let's go 40s. Let's go 40s. I think we should go in order.
You got it. I'm with you. So for me, in my 40s, I don't sweat the small shit anymore. It's just, you kind of just get to that point where the things that you thought mattered when you were in your 30s, when you're in your 20s, I look at that now and say, how did that even have an impact on me? Why did I even care? My perspectives on the traditional things in life, like marriage, is everybody's life supposed to be, I'm supposed to get married, and I'm supposed to have children, and I'm supposed to have this white picket fence house, and what if that mold is broken and the world doesn't end? That's how I see the world. And so I am a lot calmer. I'm a lot more self-introspective. I'm very much trying to, I'm on a path right now for the last 3 years that have just been complete overhaul. My entire life is different from when I turned 40, and I'm 43 now. And I'm very happy with that. I'm very happy with that. So I love my 40s. I wish I was this smart when I was in my 20s, like, and my 30s.
Me too.
I wish I was this, like, I wish I had this kind of perspective on life. But it doesn't come without age. So, but I will say this, and I think this might have a follow-up to Kellee. I honestly feel like I've lived 3 completely different existences in my life.
Sure that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people actually have, because there'll be so many different paths. But and I'll address that. But why don't you go ahead,
Yeah, let's have Shirley talk about it from the perspective of the 50s.
Well, I will never forget the first day that somebody called me ma'am.
Oh.
Down here in the South, it happens even when you're young. It's all the time.
It was the worst day of my life.
Is that here in Beverly Hills?
It's a bad thing in California, Marconi. We're on the same page. It's different.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so I went, I'm a ma'am now.
Oh, God.
I'm a ma'am. And, just to digress for a minute, her sister, who is hilarious, I happened to be with her, Carol. Mm-hmm. And it was a waiter who was taking our order at a restaurant. And she goes, just answer me a question. When did you decide to go from Miss to ma'am on your way over here? Was it the extra wrinkle? Was it the sensible cheek? What made that switch in your mind as you were coming towards us? It was so funny. So for all men out there, I don't care if the woman is 85. I always say miss. You never forget the first day you were called ma'am. You just don't. So it takes a lot of adjustment to realize that. Another thing that I realized is that walking on the street, men didn't look at me like they used to. And I never noticed when they used to before, but I did notice when they didn't.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
That's an interesting piece, And so it's kind of, it's aging is shocking. You really have to spend some time adjusting to the changes and adjusting to the differences. But I think, was it you or someone that said you're either going to stay in the negative piece of it or stay in the positive? Because what comes with age also, to go along with you, Jules, is you care less about things. And that's the beauty. Because if you cared like you did at 20, but now you're 50, that would be a really tough adjustment. Yeah. And I'm really enjoying my age. Once you adjust to the things, because I really do believe that there is an adjustment. I think it's the minority of people who just kind of grow with and go, I'm fine. That's the goal that I would hope, and that's the goal that I had, and so now I'm perfectly fine. But when you notice these little differences, it's an adjustment, and the best way to adjust is to spend time and really acknowledge, and grieve. Really, you grieve.
Yes, the grieving process.
Absolutely, because it's something that's grievous about something that's gone, that's lost, that's So I think it requires some grieving and some really time spent thinking about it, so you can then enjoy, where you're at in life. And so I do now. I mean, it doesn't mean I don't miss, a few things, and it doesn't mean I don't notice the extra wrinkle once in a while, but it doesn't put me in a state where I, where there's an emotional response to it where I'm depressed or anything. I really enjoy not caring about a lot of things. I mean, that is, in my 20s, I wouldn't think about walking out the door without makeup. Now it's like, who cares? Who cares attitude? I absolutely love that. I wouldn't change for the world.
It's a great feeling,
and it's a different, it really is. And it's like what everybody has said, you've gone through experiences. You're so much wiser about a lot of different things, I take time now. If something's going on, I don't try and rush through it. I take the time to really go, what's going on with myself? What am I feeling? And if it's sadness, to really just sit and feel it. And that's about, you learn self-compassion. I've learned to be very compassionate with myself and to take care of myself the way I take care of others, which I didn't do in my 30s and 40s. So a lot of wonderful things come with it, but it does take adjustment. You fell right into it. I know you.
Literally.
I didn't care.
No, not at all. But
Can I preface something before my mom goes? So I was raised with my mother saying, you know what? Everyone talks about how women are like, oh yeah, I'm 25, I'm 18. I'm going to tell people I'm older than I am. So everyone says, man, you look great.
That's so true.
I swear, that's what I was raised with.
That is totally the truth. So here's my experience of all of this. When I was 43, Jules, so your age, and Holiday would remember this, I had a traumatic brain injury. And as a result of the traumatic brain injury, I became a medium. I started seeing dead people everywhere. Literally. So poor Holiday had to live with this. This is a whole other show. But the reason I mention that is because my life was, I was a vice president of a large company. I was going in one direction. I was busy. Poor Holiday never even knew she had a mom. I was so busy. Travel, globetrotter, intense life. And then I have a traumatic brain injury. And that takes years to recover from, years. So I had to grieve the life I lost. I had to really talk about grief and have compassion for what I went through. I say this because everybody that's out there is listening. Everybody will have something. They will lose somebody to cancer. They will have some accident. Something will happen. We come here to grow.
Nobody gets out of this life unscathed.
Oh, no, of course not. Yeah. I mean, really, but we choose everything before we incarnate. We choose these things. I chose a head injury. And that is, and also my agreement with my daughter, my beloved daughter Holiday, was that on the other side that we would work through this, as we have worked through this. But it was, in order for me to do this work, that was a necessary part of unleashing my whatever, everything that came out with this. I say this because once I got a hold of that, then I went back to graduate school. So at any age you can continue to learn. I went back in my 50s to graduate school. Then I became a psychotherapist. And it's the funniest thing about that. When you're older, everybody thinks you've been practicing for years. That was really fun. That's true. It's like, oh, yeah, I've been 30 years here, But it's actually
your whole life really with your mom.
With my mom as a therapist. But so I say all this because by the time now that I'm 60 and one day, it has been the happiest I've ever been in my life. The last 6 years have been the happiest of my life, happiest ever. I love being at this state. I don't talk about not giving a shit. I mean, really, seriously. I'm really fortunate because I have a husband that's really incredible. And so my whole life is just, I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed. But I know what I went through to get here. And if you looked at anything that I went through, you would go, well, there's no way. And I always say, God, please, I could not go through that one again. And I wouldn't want to put anybody through that one again. It was a rough one. But everybody that's out there, I want to say this. You will all get through whatever it is you have to get through. I promise. You will all get through it. Okay? Everybody gets through what they need to get through. If you need help, then you get to help. Come to me, come to Shirley, come to Holiday, see a therapist. You'll do something that will help you. The universe always puts somebody in your way to ask to get help with. So it's been my experience.
You just have to be willing and ready to listen.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or the next
accept.
one. The next one will come along. Whatever. I mean, you didn't hang yourself up by not doing something at this age. And the other thing is, people will say, "Oh, did I not marry this one and I should have married that one?" Oh, please. No, it's sliding doors. You'll end up at the same place. It may take a little longer. You may have to go through this, but what have you learned? Again, this life is about learning. So at 60, I can tell you I've learned a lot. And have compassion for yourself is number one. Mm-hmm. Compassion for others, number two. Love yourself. Love life. Experience joy out there. Even though times can be challenging, and they will be, still enjoy life. Get out there. And don't be afraid. That's the other thing. Don't be afraid. My God, if I could tell myself 20 years, I wish I had spent less time being anxious. Yes. That's just ridiculous time spent. It's all going to be okay.
And yet, at the time, you don't know it. You go through the anxiety, and it's crippling. And
and anxiety is a very real thing, and it is about fear. And so there are techniques, Holiday, this grounding techniques that you can help reduce your anxiety, but to be curious about what the anxiety is about. If you come from a chaotic childhood, there's no reason you're going to feel you're not going to have anxiety as an adult. Age doesn't erase trauma. So whatever you're feeling, instead of be critical of it, to be curious about it and get the help that you need. Anxiety can be very crippling. Mm-hmm. I think it was Mark Twain who said, "I spent my whole life worrying about things that never happened."
It's so true.
I've heard that, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but you can't help it. And so again, it's not about making people feel bad that they can't change that or they can't stop feeling anxious. Anxiety is very real, and it comes for a reason. You know, when you look at it from the perspective of, we weren't born that way. You know, a baby doesn't come into the world. There is a genetic predisposition, but even the studies of epigenetics show that it's more environment than genetics. You know, the environment can actually turn a gene on or leave it dormant. So if you're feeling something, it comes from somewhere. You weren't born that way. So then it's about being curious, using that curiosity to figure out why, and then how can I change it? And if you need someone to help and guide you, then certainly to see a therapist.
Yes. And talking about the universe intervening, the universe made this whole thing happen because the universe put me in Holiday's path, and Holiday told me about Kellee and told me that her mom had a podcast. And I listened to her podcast, and I loved Shirley and Kellee together, and I've been listening ever since. And I said, I think that they need to be together on the show. And when Holiday found out that her mom was going to be on the show, she said, I want to be there too. So I blame the universe in full happiness for bringing all of these people together.
That's so sweet.
It's very true though. And Holiday came into my path exactly when I needed her to be there. And it was it was a very, very interesting and needed time for me, which was, you know, after listening to all of you speak, it's just like this, it just feels like, it feels that things are meant to happen as they happen.
They are. We plan before we incarnate. Yeah. Big things. Now, you know, we can talk about free will. We have free will in this dimension. Yes, we do. But we also have put certain things in place that will happen. You will marry this one. You will have a baby. You will go to this school. You put certain things in place. But of course, there is still free will with that. Having said that, I always think that there's less free will than there is, but I think the universe goes, no, you're going to do this.
I think in the sense where, you know, I think what you were saying, Holiday, is that an experience may cross your path and we can pay attention to it or not, but then a similar experience that will teach us a similar lesson will come, you know, a month later, a year later, 5 years later. So in that way.
And then we might learn it on a deeper level too, or we might re-experiencing it in such a different way.
And talking about learning experiences, we do come here to learn. So before we come in, we will have put into our plan, what do we want to learn here? Some people come to learn fear and overcome it. Some people come here to learn love.
What a great reframe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's true. They want to learn fear. So, you know, we've got Trump now. You're going to learn fear. Everybody's going to have that little aspect of it. Sorry, I had to go there. But we also people come to learn all kinds of
you're
lessons.
Born into a
compassion,
chaotic
joy,
childhood.
Yeah.
And so that
then
causes you to feel fear.
Right. So let's say you wanted to learn fear. You would pick that mother and that father, and you'd be damned. You're going to get fear. You know, you're going to have fear, and then it's overcoming it. Because why we come here? Because all of this it's this dimension. I mean, it's a limited dimension. We're only here for a limited amount of time, and you just want to break all the cycles that have caused you a lot of harm. That's why you come here. Break the cycles.
It's amazing, and there's so much we can dig into about all of that I've heard on your show that I would love to do more, but we are limited on time. I want to ask one question. I do think that there is a lot of skepticism when it comes to spirituality, psychic, and mediumship. And so how does it mesh with psychology? You know, I mean, people would say Holiday and Shirley, in theory, should be looking at Kellee and saying, you don't mix with me at all. Is that...
No, but I mean, psychology in of itself, psyche is study of the soul.
Right.
And what my mother does is help look into your soul.
Intuition means into the soul. So
nailed it.
Spirituality, and what I do as a medium, is actually the next place jump off, if you will, of psychology. I mean, back in the days in the 60s, when my mother became a psychologist, they were like, you're a freak show. Nobody will do this. Therapy was you had to hide if you saw a therapist. And so it's now, at least we're in Los Angeles, so people are really open. Oh, you're a medium? Yeah, okay, next. I mean, it's pretty common here. Not common necessarily, but it's more open here. Yeah. And so I think it's actually a way of taking off restrictions and letting the soul speak and letting the soul kind of fly. And it brings about a lot of peace with people. You know, if somebody has lost somebody, I mean, I cannot tell you how I do. You know, I work with people who have had great loss. I specialize in suicide, people who have crossed over from suicide. It brings, and I give evidence of the person who's passed away to the person that's either on the phone or or what do I do? Skype, you know, it doesn't really matter. Or phone, it doesn't matter. Energy is energy. But it brings them a lot of peace. And that's really, I also discovered as a medium that I needed to have a psychological background because I'm working with such deep things that I need to make sure that the information I'm going to say that comes through, that they can hear it, they can handle it, because then it could be a lot of shock, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel also, you know, with, I'm a huge left brain.
Huge.
And I was trained at UCLA and it was all research and huge. I always knew as a kid, though, there was something more to it. It didn't make sense to my left brain that once your heart stops beating, that whole thing that made you different than your friend or your sister, that essence of you completely disappeared. So I always figured there was something there. But, you know, I got into this, you know, and it took me a while to come out with Kellee because I know that a lot of my colleagues would go, okay, she's gone nuts.
It's easier to come out gay, right? So much easier.
Yeah. But nowadays, certainly. Yeah. But, you know, but I thought, first of all, it's so healing. You know, I see how these people react when Kellee sends a message, you know, when Kellee gives them a message of someone who's passed on. It is so healing. So even if it's a made up story, which it isn't, it's healing. And that's what I do as a psychologist. I want to help people heal, you know, their wounds. So that in and of itself, but now with the study of quantum physics, scientists are actually saying that that energy doesn't just disappear and we are energy. And so there is this kind of infinite place of nothingness that's energy. And so they're actually they're calling it consciousness. You know, now the science is actually coming out with, yes, there is something there.
That's incredible.
So,
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for addressing that tough question, because I know that there are skeptics listening to this episode. And I wanted to address the elephant in the room.
Yeah, and it's not about convincing anybody that it's true or not. People are, you know, doesn't matter to me. Can believe whatever they want to believe. That's not our purpose to try and convince people that it does exist. Not at all. No. You know? Yeah.
And that is, I thank you so much for answering that question. I know that Shirley and Kellee have about 5 minutes remaining. Holiday, are you able to stick around a little bit?
Yeah, I can stick around for a couple minutes.
I know we were going to do a quick reading for Marconin from Kellee, if that was okay.
Okay, so Marconin, one of the things that you came into this life to do is to have knowledge, a lot of knowledge. Your brain, do you have trouble sleeping at night? I mean, you have a brain that just goes and goes and goes.
Well, I do stay pretty, my brain is pretty active during the day. I'm always thinking of something or got a song in my head or, something like that.
Something.
Yeah. I don't really have too much trouble sleeping.
Oh, good. You have a brain that needs to be like higher education, people that are smart around you, they have to be. And also with your mother, now I have to assume your mother is very either high powered or you spent a lot of time with your mother. High powered is what I'm getting.
She's in the chat room right now.
Yeah, hi, Mom. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a mama's boy. Yeah.
Give a shout out to her because that to have you as a son, I know for your mother that must have been a real big blessing for her, and probably you kept her you're really busy. I'll say that. And now I'm not sure if it's her father that passed. I'm hearing male that passed on her side. Her father. Did her father pass?
He is gone. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So okay. So please, there is a lot of love with that connection, and I want to hear. I almost want to hear say I'm sorry, but I'm not sure what happened, and this is not probably the time to go through that. But there is a deep connection there with your her father and her. Okay, please to your mom. That's a really hello for her. Okay.
She's hearing this.
Yeah,
right now.
she's listening in. Yeah.
Is she happy about that? Because that's the soul goes on.
Oh yeah. Well, she knows that this life isn't the only one. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
But yeah,
Lorna, did you have any questions for Kellee?
Oh goodness, I didn't have a chance to think up any. I don't. You kind of got a little bit of a reading on me. Any advice you'd have, or any kind of.
Oh, I would say be so open to experiences for you. Like I heard you say in your 30s you said it in a certain way about going further or something. Like this is not how at all how your life is now in your 30s. I promise, not because it's our topic. Your life will change over and then over and then over again, many times. Everybody, but you came in to keep learning. So I want to just keep redirecting that to you, and also to have some fun. And here's the last thing I want to say to you: you need balance. Balance is critical for you. Balance.
Absolutely, that's definitely true.
It is true. It's very, very true. Oh my gosh, that's very cool. Ladies,
are you okay, Holiday?
I'm so used to this. I love it.
We're gonna ask her all about you when you have to go.
When we go, your ears are going to ring.
Right? Sure. You're going to start hearing about that too. Shirley,
Holiday about her childhood.
We'll put me on the couch. It'll be fine.
Please let us know how everyone can get in touch with you, your podcast, your websites, your social media. Let us know everything.
Okay. Well, we are about to get back and doing our podcast, but we're going to move to a new station, I guess we call it, right? Or
okay.
So a new home. Yeah. So that's going to come out. We'll announce that shortly. We're working on that right now. But we have a Facebook page, Both Sides Now.
Both Sides Now TV. Yep. Then we also have
we have a Twitter page.
Oh, we do.
Yes, we do.
Both Sides Now TV.
Yeah.
Twitter.
And then we have
Instagram.
We're still figuring out how to work that Instagram, but we do post things. Okay, thanks Holiday. We're old.
And then we have bothsidesnowtv.com.
Yeah, that's our website, and we're working also on a workshop. And
we're doing a workshop. And then I have kelleewhite.com, KELLEEWHITE.com, and
if you want to do private
private sessions or private
and stuff, and I'm at drshirley.com.
Dr. Shirley, do you do private sessions do you do therapy through Skype at all?
If you live in California, because I'm licensed only in California.
Okay. That's what I definitely needed to know. Awesome. So anybody who's in California is lucky enough to do that. Sorry, Kellee.
As a medium, I'm allowed to
Skype
anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter.
Yes. Awesome. Ladies, I know you have to go. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming.
It was our pleasure. We're going to stick around with Holiday, and we'll let these ladies go and do their work tonight.
Bye, Mama. Bye, Shirley.
Bye, sweetie pie.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
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 So the overlay might get a little weird. Oh, no, it didn't. It's pretty good. Hi, Holiday.
Hi.
So
that's my mom.
That's your mom.
And that's my mentor. Shirley's
awesome.
my mentor, and my mom is Kellee.
The you've known Shirley for most of your life, haven't you?
Yeah, at least 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Long time.
There's
wow.
So tell us a little. I would love to know the backstory about experiencing mom becoming a medium.
So, it was rough. I'll put it to you that way. I was 16, and I was actually with her when she hit her head. We were on our way to a Sting concert.
Oh my gosh!
Because that's what you do at the Greek, and she was talking on her cell phone and getting into the car, and she hit her head on the car door, and just smack right here. And it was bad. So she seemed okay at first, but she seemed really off. Like she just didn't feel like my mom. And she had a very, very bad concussion. And then what we found out is she had a subdural hematoma. So she had a 4-millimeter hole in her brain that slowly bled for about a year.
Ooh.
And all I could tell you is that she hugged me different. And she was suddenly much more, you just saw my mom. She's the most like Susie cheesecake person you've ever met. And she was suddenly very irritated with me and irritable. And I mean, I was 16, so I'm sure I was a true delight. But let's be real. So yeah, so it was really rough. It was just really rough at first, and we didn't really know what was going on. And then she started seeing things that I couldn't see. And I mean, my mom's always been very intuitive, and as I've always been very intuitive. But where like I'm like, okay, I kind of can feel like there's probably a ghost in here. She suddenly started seeing them, and then like things started flying around our house, and like plastic mayonnaise jars shattered, and just weird things started happening. And my mom kind of touched on it a little bit, but what she really had to work on was learning discretion. So, and that's part of where her becoming, I mean, she'd really learned it, I think, by the time she went to graduate school to be an MFT, but taking that time to learn discretion. Like, I'll never forget, like, we were out and about, and she just walks up to a stranger, and she's like, listen, your son has something to tell you. And then someone's like, what? And she's like, your son, the one who committed suicide a year ago? Or, I'm like, oh my God, Mom. Yeah. So, and
wow.
like really intense things that most people can't always handle.
Yeah.
Or, and there was a large component, the other side was, my mom was very up and down, and then she couldn't work, and I was very angry. I was very angry. Right, basically from the time I was a sophomore in high school until I was in college, we had a very up and down relationship because I was just angry, and I suddenly had a lot of freedom, and then too much freedom, and then not enough freedom. And you try getting away with things when your mom's a psychic when you're in high school, so you kind of have to learn to block her out. And that there's just a lot of stuff that happened. So it was really hard, and it took her a long time to recover. And I think the recovery was the hardest part for all of us. And like 6 years.
Wow.
So yeah, like, and that was kind of just the beginning. So the fact that she is where she is now, and like, to me, that feels, I'm in my 30s. And so to me, it feels, you were saying this earlier, it's like we live many lives.
Yeah.
That feels like a whole other life to me that no longer exists, that I'm grateful no longer exists. And I hope that I will never, ever have to put my son through anything like that. But yeah, we all survived.
Yeah.
And we didn't kill each other. And we love each other. But it was rough.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Less funny than you think it would be. It was really intense.
Yeah.
My best friend had some family issues of her own, and so she lived with us for a time too. And there were probably several years where she was kind of the go-between between my mom and I, because I didn't have a whole lot of tolerance for her.
Right.
And she'd be like, Holiday, be nice. I'm like, I'm trying. But now my mom and I are like, couldn't be closer. And but it took time and a lot of therapy on my part. My name's Holiday, and I've been in therapy for 6, almost 7 years, off and on. But it's the best thing I've ever done. And it's the greatest gift I've ever given my child, is the gift of me getting into therapy, because I'm dealing with all the stuff so that I'm not passing it on to him. Because that's something we didn't even touch on, is intergenerational trauma, is that we all pass it on.
Yes. And that is, I think that for anybody who's out there who is thinking about having a child, if you are dealing with stuff, like you got stuff going on, that stuff doesn't go away when your child is born.
Not even a little bit.
No.
Wish it did. And really, when your child's born, it only becomes more prominent, and things that you weren't aware of. There's a word for it, but my mom brain is not allowing me to remember it. Fucking mom brain. Pregnancy brain, then mom brain, and then apparently menopause brain. It never goes away.
Oh, great.
So you're totally going to get it eventually. No escaping.
Oh, great.
So hard to be a woman. So anyway, these memories that are not attached to the declarative part of your brain, that are not attached to the talkative part of your brain, suddenly come up, or you have these sensations that you're not even aware of, or you're suddenly profoundly feeling sad because you're watching your child do something and it's triggering you in some way that you're just not even aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And or a lot of times with my patients, I kind of call it a pendulum swing. This is my really bad robot, pendulum robot, where, if our parents kind of did one thing, then we either tend to do the opposite, or sometimes we'll try to recreate, and usually you need to end up at somewhere in the middle.
Mm.
But it's like, oh, okay, well, my parents didn't give me anything, so I'm going to give my children everything. Well, then what are we providing for them? Are they learning how to work for themselves? Are we, how are we helping them learn how to adult?
Yeah.
Keeping those things in mind, I think, are kind of key too.
Yeah.
And that,
like your mom said, balance.
Yeah, balance. Yeah, balance. And it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. There is not enough money to pay me to redo my 20s. But there's also not enough money to make me forget everything that I've learned.
yeah.
And I think a big component that we also probably didn't touch on at all tonight, though, is gratitude. Mm-hmm. It's feeling really grateful for who you are today. And you can experience these really, really intense, terrible things and still feel gratitude, not only that they're over, but that you survived. Mm-hmm. Because ultimately, we're survivors. We are cockroaches, and we are surviving our own apocalypse, and that's what life is. Mm-hmm. And we're getting through it day by day, and we're doing the best that we can for it. But being able to, and what's really interesting is that when you actually actively talk about science, talk about, acknowledge the things that you are grateful for, from the fact that I'm like, oh, it's Monday, The Bachelorette's on, to, wow, I'm so happy that I had my child and he took his first steps, and that I have air and money and, whatever. It actually produces dopamine and serotonin, and that makes you feel less anxious and less depressed.
Mm-hmm.
So a really great trick to help yourself not feel so anxious and not feel so depressed is to every day start acknowledging the things that you're grateful for. And I really mean this, the stupider, the sillier, the better.
Yeah, I'm saying I'm grateful that it's not raining outside today, so I can go for a walk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm grateful that there's such a thing as pineapple on pizza, because it's delicious. It is so good.
I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to get my own pizza when Marconan's around, because I hate pineapple pizza.
You too, Holiday.
I'm outnumbered again.
Me too, my dear. We're going to have that pepperoni pizza and let him have the pineapple one.
More for me.
More for you, I know. I think that message couldn't have come at a better time, because I think that I've been seeing a lot lately of people, especially on social media, which is very prominent. It's where we vent our frustrations, where we diary our lives, where we...
It's the collective unconscious. Yeah.
It is. And so I wind up finding a lot of people out there right now who are just, the FML feeling, F my life. And that's hard for me to watch.
And as you're in your 40s, you have a lot of perspective. Mm-hmm. And, we're not that much younger than you. It's really about perspective. I had this patient the other day who was talking, unfortunately, they are unable to see their significant other right now because of transportation issues. And my patient said, oh, my life sucks. Everything's terrible. And I acknowledged those feelings and I validated them, and I kind of sat for a minute. I'm like, well, let's think about let's think about some things. Do you have a job? Yeah. You have a roof over your head? Yeah. Good relationship with your friends? Yeah. You're in school? Yeah. Spend time with your friends? Yeah. Generally pretty happy? Yeah. So what sucks? And really acknowledging a part, just because something in your life sucks or is terrible doesn't mean the whole thing gets, we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. The whole thing isn't thrown out. Yes, in this moment, oh, it's terrible. But take a few moments, acknowledge that, feel that, like Dr. Shirley said, be curious about it, feel it, and then figure out if you want to dwell, if you want to move on. And that's your choice.
Yeah, take the blinders off.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
I love that so much. And, and you bring such a powerful perspective to this show. I love when you're here because you take whatever we're talking about and turn it into language that is understandable and clear and relatable. It's just, it's a gift. You have a gift to do that.
Thank you. That's very kind. That makes me feel good. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'm feeling good about that.
I think that change, we've had a discussion recently about changing in perspective to like kind of feeling the loss of what you used to have, as Shirley was talking about earlier, where you used to, like, you don't have patience for the young ones anymore because you're older and you're wiser. But I tend to feel more about, let me ask you this, actually. I have a lot of frustration with people who just have zero perspective, that just, it's very difficult for me not to just want to go, do you realize that what you just said that you're complaining about that everybody does, you're doing that right now?
Sure. But in my old age, it depends on my mood and it depends on where I'm at in my day and how regulated I'm feeling. Generally speaking, what I attempt to come is, okay, well, now I have a choice. I can go do you know how good you have it? Or could you, take a step back? Mm-hmm. Or I can provide that person compassion and recognize that, because most of the time, really what we're looking for in those moments is validation and compassion. Yes. Empathy, and providing empathy in that moment. And, whether my empathy, and I may not say this out loud, is, wow, your world is so small. That's so, to me, that's sad. Maybe that works for you. And that's wonderful it works for you. I hope it works for you. And just, wishing that person well and providing that compassion in that moment that they are not where you're at. Mm-hmm. And you can be, again, feeling gratitude that you are not there. Because if you're able to recognize that their perspective is very small, you're able to really shift your energy and shift your experience to go, wow, this, I'm in a better place and this person isn't there. So now I'm going to choose to either take the time to help them, or I'm going to choose to take the time to, maybe I don't have the mental energy or the mental capacity, because sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a step back and go, okay, I'm going to back off. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the things I've learned from age is that not everybody needs or wants your opinion on everything. And, it's only... Go for it.
Well, I was just going to mention the whole grieving thing, in particular because I've had a baby. And I was feeling really lost for several months and had, probably my own, I definitely had my own experience with some postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. And a friend of mine who has 2 babies said something really interesting to me. She said, make sure you take the time to grieve. And she said, sometimes I grieve my life before I had children. Sometimes I grieve the life I had before I had my second child. Sometimes I grieve my old body. And so it's this dual position of not only grieving the loss of what you have, so going down that rabbit hole, but then climbing out and realize it's not about focusing on what you had. It's about recognizing what you have now. Right. And holding both of those spaces. And
holding their spaces are so important. Allowing
It's
yourself
huge.
to hold that space.
Well, and feeling and recognizing that it's complicated, and you can hold both. You're that complicated of a being. You can be both happy for the present and sad that the past is gone. It's holding both energies and not feeling bad or that it's wrong or why aren't I happy? Well, you could focus on why aren't you happy, or you can acknowledge that you just need to feel sad right now. All of those emotions, sadness, joy, disgust, anger, anxiety, fear, they're all real and they all need to be acknowledged and they all have their place. Sorry. Yes.
Oh gosh, no, don't apologize. Marconin, you were going to say something earlier.
Well, my train of thought kind of got derailed in there, but one of the things you kind of hit on is and I tried to look up the I guess it's a Dr. Seuss quote: "Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened." So when you're not in that simple of a terms, but like you were saying, you can grieve the past, but also be glad that it happened and that you were a part of it because of the things that you experienced, and also because of the things that you learned from it. So it's not as simple as just the quote, but I was kind of piggybacking on what you were saying.
And I want to piggyback off of something that my mom said earlier. She talked about Sliding Doors, which is a really kind of fun, terrible movie if you ever have time to watch it. But it's so interesting. So she said something very specific where she said, a lot of people are like, oh, did I marry this person? Did I marry the wrong person? Or, should I have made a different call? I actually had this experience over the weekend. Let me tell you.
Please.
So, over the weekend, a friend of mine got married, and I, while I was in college, I dated her brother for 2 years. So we dated for a very long time, and I broke up with him. And there had been a part of me that had been harboring not feelings for him per se, but did I make the right decision?
Like a what if.
There was a lot of what ifs, and there was for a long time there were a lot of feelings of oh, I shouldn't have done that, or he was such a great guy, and he continues to be a wonderful person. So anyway, she got married over the weekend, so I got to see him for the first time in 12 years.
Oh wow,
which is a long time, and I found that I saw him and I felt joy at seeing him, and I felt nothing, and I was so really struck by how much I didn't feel anything, and how any feelings that I had been projecting had really just been a sense of what was, but not what is.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the right decision to break up with him. And I'm very much with the right person. And that was this like really mind blowing experience to kind of feel that and see that in real time. And so to kind of like full circle on this whole like theme of the day, if you live long enough, you will find out your answers. You just have to wait, and you can't force it. And then it was really funny. So his girlfriend was there, and I took him aside at one point, and I'm like, hey, she's really wonderful. And he was like, yeah, your husband's really great. And then it just kind of occurred to me that we basically married like different versions of the other. But which is really funny in of itself, but like, slightly tweaked different versions that are more sensible for where we're at now.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you live long enough, you'll get there and you'll be able to see, but having the perspective and to be able to actually remove your ass from your face and see, wow, I'm in a good enough place to see that, and to not be stuck on these weird feelings that I've been harboring for years that I wasn't even completely aware of.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, and you got your answer because you got to see him, and that was like you're waiting for the last page of a novel, and you got to the end of the chapter, and like, oh, so that's how it ends.
Yeah.
And then you can just close the book on there, like, oh, okay, now I know. Now I've got the whole picture.
Yes. And a lot of people get stuck because it's like, I want to see what happens at the end, and that like love and fairy tale, like it's not a thing. Love is patient, love is kind. No. Sometimes love is revenge eating the last cookie at 6 a.m. before your partner gets up. That's what love is. is
Wow, I love it. That
true.
is love.
And sometimes love is staying up late for no other reason except you're waiting to go to bed with your partner and throwing in that extra time for a massage because you love them and you know they've had a hard day. I think I'm like jumping all over the place and I'm very tired.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
You're throwing out gems, my dear.
I wrote that in my friend's card over the weekend. She laughed out loud. I'm glad I'm making you guys laugh at that one too. But it's true. Did it last week. It's if you live long enough and if you're in a good enough place, you'll be able to see the full circle. And I think that kind of is full circling the full circle comment. You have to be in a place to see it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to acknowledge the grief and be able to acknowledge where you're at. Also, if you don't like where your life's going, do something about it.
Yes.
Nothing ever changes if you don't change nothing.
I tell my patients all the time, change is not going to happen in your bedroom by yourself. It's just not.
Yeah.
Do one thing different. And if the idea of change is scary, baby steps.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge piece of it.
I absolutely love it, and I think that is a perfect place to wrap this show up. So we can let you get to bed.
I'm gonna pass out so hard.
I know. So we won't do our traditional outro, but we'll do our traditional. Let's tell everybody where they can find you and how they can find you.
So how can you find me? So you can definitely find me at the telosproject.org, TELOS project.org, the telosproject.org. And I'm taking new patients. And I'm also, like I said, I'm also in the process of creating a postpartum discussion group here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Yes.
That will be free through the Telos Project. And because we're an amazing nonprofit, we take donations. And I also I'm going to, this is very new. I'm also in the process of creating kind of a side project of providing intensive postpartum counseling to those in need, kind of serving in-home, like serving the greater Dallas-Fort Worth area. Thinking about the name, you know what? No, I'm going to wait. I'm just going to wait. Yeah.
Just hold it until you're ready.
I'll hold that.
And she is also on Twitter at Doc Holiday PsyD. She doesn't check it very often, but she is there.
But I will. Usually I check it for about 5 days after the show.
Yep. And but if you listeners have feedback that you'd like to, or questions that you wanted to pass along to Holiday, to Dr. Shirley, or to Kelly, you can email us at the show and we'll pass it along to them. We have all their emails and we will contact them and let them know, and they will get back to you because they're incredible. And so for us, the show, we are at Tauren Think Tank on Twitter. You can find us on our website, which is taurenthinktank.com. You can find me on Twitter at JulesRPG. And Mark Honan, where can they find you?
At Twitter also, you can find me at Mark Conan Wow, MarConinWow.
We hope that you guys enjoyed this very non-traditional episode of Tauren Think Tank. It was a little chaotic. It was so much fun, and I loved every second of it. And our bonus to have Dr. Holiday Bean to join us for the last 30 minutes or so, which has been fantastic. And I have an idea for another show topic for you, and I'll tell you after the show because I think I want to have you back for something else. And
awesome.
Because I absolutely love when Holiday is here. There's just knowledge bombs dropped everywhere.
They're AFOGs.
AFOGs.
There you go.
Another freaking
opportunity
for growth. And we can, but we like the other word better. It's in there. I love it. It's awesome. And so we are going to play the outro and say goodbye. And so until next week, we will be back. We will be back next week. We are on our normal schedule. We'll be back on Thursday. So until then, /moo, everybody.
/moo.
Let's play
/moo.
Bumper. If I could find it.
Tauren Think Tank. We make your problems less bad.
This podcast is a part of the Signals Media All-Star Network. For more information on this and other fine shows, go to signalsmedia.com. It's okay to stick our stuff in your ears. Really?
Really?
Yay!
Awesome show. I will be sending an email, but please let your mom know if she texts you. It was so much fun to have them here.
Oh,
It really
good.
was.
Thank you. Yeah, they're a hoot. They're hilarious and incredible and so knowledgeable.
I wish that we had more time because I think that we could have, and I was just grateful for the time we have, but I definitely want to see if we can get them back because it was like, we just want to get them. They're so busy and they're in California. So it was right during when they were doing practice time went from one appointment to having us to the next one. So fantastic stuff. So chat room, thank you guys. Let's see. I think we've got show title suggestions all about the AFOGs. Pineapple pizza, doctor, knowledge bombs. Where does upside down carrot cake come from? I like all about the AFOGs myself.
Yeah, I do too.
And Grenega said, I've been ma'ammed.
I've been ma'ammed. You fell right into your southern. You gave Kelly a ma'am, and I don't even know if you did it. You knew that you did it, Marconin.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh.
So like full disclosure, in California, that's literally like going up to someone and saying you're old. And then when I moved here to Texas, everyone says it. And now it's just a normal thing for me.
Right.
You know, it's like same thing for Arkansas. It's just normal.
Yeah,
there,
sign of
it's
respect.
like,
Yeah.
it is so far so far from a sign of respect. So far.
Oh, well.
It's so hard because you're ingrained, that was
Yeah.
ingrained in childhood for you.
It's been about 30 odd years I've been having this in my brain. So it's a hard habit to break.
I'm going to totally teach August to consistently tell her, like, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we call manners. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir.
Yeah.
But, like when I talk to clients at work, I'll say miss, but when I talk to them, because I don't know. But when I'm in the home, it's like, yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am, like I said, sign of respect. But
Totally.
yeah, well, I guess
Not in California.
I'll try to remember that in November when I go
Yes.
there.
Yes. So
Yes, miss.
We're gonna sign off on Twitch and say goodnight, and then Holiday, I just want to talk to you real quick, and then
Sure.
we'll be out of here. So, you guys have a wonderful night, chat room. Thank you for being here. We had a great, nice, wide range of people, and we'll be back next week. /move, everybody.
/move, guys.